The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What is going on, my Go Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. This is episode number 186. Today's date is Tuesday, March 30th, 2021. We are live, as always, on YouTube and over on Facebook. So if you're out there, go ahead and leave a comment out there in the live chat. We don't know that you're out there unless you do say something. If you're watching a replay or listening in podcast form, then the conversation does not have to stop now. Go ahead and use that comment section below. Ask any questions that you might have. If you're in the live chat and you want to get a question to us and answer it or whatever, make sure you tag one of us in the panel and we'll make sure we try to get to that. You can call. Yes, you can call into the show or text into the Ghost Golly, it's a long day. Into the Ghost Tactical Hotline presented by our good friends Rod and Shelly Gates at theguncleaners.com. That phone number is 530-364-4678. If you're a veteran and you're in that hole and you don't know where the light is, you can't find, you're doubting if there is light out there and you need someone to talk to, first of all, call, text, email, call me anytime, 24/7. I can't give you medical advice, but I sure as hell might be a pretty decent ear to listen and talk you through some stuff. If you are looking for someone that can get you in the right direction towards medical advice, please understand two things. Number one, you are not alone. And number two, the world is a much better place with you in it. So please contact the Veteran Crisis Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. It's going to be scrolling down below. 1-800-273-8255, the Veteran Crisis Hotline. As always, we're going to be spotlighting the United States Marine Corps. If you're looking for more information on what it takes to earn the title United States Marine, please see the website marines.com and all of that. Tango Chaser out there says Semper Fi, 8086. Semper Fidelis, my brother. And let's see here. What else am I saying? Oh, yes. Right up there, it says that we are a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. If you're looking for more pro-gun, pro-freedom, pro-Second Amendment podcasts out there, you've got a bunch of them over there. The Polite Society podcast. You've got the Locked and Loaded Latinos. You've got the Get Off My Lawn with Sandy. A bunch of great pro-gun, pro-freedom podcasts in one place. Check out www.selfdefenseradio.net. I'm trying to get that down. It's taking me about 3.5 minutes. I'm trying to get that under 3 minutes, but I'm not that smart. I'm not that good at it yet. I'm going to have to keep practicing, I guess. We're welcoming our quasi co-pilot along for this fiasco from the great state of Texas, the tactical virus. Leprechaun himself. What's up, Clove?
Sounds like you might need a vacation.
I'm tired, man. It's been a long couple of weeks. Not a bad tired. It's just a lot of stuff going on at work and with the channel and everything else. And it's fun. I just gotta. We're coming out of that winter months where we would have gone to SHOT Show and we would have had all the stuff going on with SHOT Show. We didn't have that this year, so it's like it went from like wintertime to like busy in like a 2-week span. And I didn't have that gradual, like when you're getting ready for SHOT, you have the build up for SHOT Show. You have the Wanamaker or, a couple months before, then you have SHOT Show, then you have after SHOT Show. I didn't have all that. Now it's just like all of a sudden we're here, we're doing this. And yeah, it's been, you know how it is. I mean, hell, it's just one of those things where I just need to get refocused, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
Right. Well, less than 2 weeks, bro. Tulsa.
Oh, man, I cannot wait.
That will happen. I kind of got focused in with, 3 weeks ago going to the shooting sports showcase, right? So
that hits, I'm sure, yeah.
That helped me out a lot, even though I was basically alone there. Speaking of that, I did get the video drop today on time. So I don't know what it is about Tuesdays and not being able to do that, but this may be the second or third week in a row I've actually got it done on time. And it's a good one. The very last one, I know a lot of folks out there are like, thank God, no more videos from the Shooting Sports Showcase. We're sick of them. But the last one might be the best one because it's kind of going over the range there in Talladega. Amazing.
Pretty cool range. Yeah, I was watching that video and you'd already told me, how nice it was, but actually getting to see the layout and pictures and all that, man, I got to get down there sometime. I've driven past it before on the highway, but never even thought about. Matter of fact, it must have been right when it opened because this was in like 2016.
Yeah.
And so it was a sign on the highway. And I should have stopped, but I had a vehicle full of people, so I really couldn't. But
yep.
So Midnight Range up there says, sorry I'm late, was ordering me a nut snuggie. If you're not following him over on Instagram, it's a fun follow to begin with. Go check out Midnight Range TM. He put up an interesting type of snuggie. We'll just call it a onesie. It's a snuggie, but just go and check it out. It's pretty interesting. So I made a comment and said, "Oh, Christmas came early for roll call because we know that roll call loves his one piece snuggies. This is going to be a different kind of snuggie for him." So, yeah, there you go. Let's say hi to everybody out there before we get going and diving in. If you're out there, I think Snob and Gary and several others out there, if you want to join in, you're more than welcome to. You have links in your email. Send them out way early today because I knew I'd forget. But PNW Woods is out there. Bernie's out there. Artac and Daughters is out there. Stephen Elder, Guitar Man Pete, Buck's out there. Joe Ziola, Gizzard Gary, Tango Chaser, which I mentioned. Snob's out there. Pat Hurst is out there. Double T's out there. Let's see here. I just said Midnight's out there. I wish he wasn't, but it is what it is. I can't kick. Well, I guess I could ban him from the channel, but I wouldn't do that. He's a good guy. I like him. A snuggie for your nuggies, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. So tonight we're gonna talk optics, and he said he's still headed home. No worries, man. We're gonna talk optics tonight, and I'm gonna. Most of you know that I'm in several different groups on Facebook, and I know that people hate Facebook and all that, but there's some good groups out there and all that. But a lot of the topics in the last week or two, basically the last month, have been on different kind of optics, and I think there's a lot of people that are buying ARs for the first time. We're not going to talk just ARs. We're going to talk pistols, maybe even shotguns that people like to run optics on shotguns, bolt actions, whatever, and talk about optics, but not necessarily just optics in general, but describe the different kinds of optics and what they might be good for and the kind of person they're going to be good for, and go into that kind of stuff. So it's going to be it's an interesting conversation because no matter what happens, you or I, Clover, could say this is my favorite kind of optic, but depending on someone's eyesight, what they have an astigmatism, they might be older, whatever. Optics are kind of one of those where they're like triggers and they're like everything else. They're kind of what you're looking for, and everyone's eyesight's different. Everyone's what they like to see, what kind of reticles. Even within red dots and all of that, there's so many different reticles within the red dot game that a lot of people have been wondering what's a good one. So what I want to kind of start off with is, and I know that if you're, let's start out like the ARs. I know you don't run many optics on your pistols, on your, you might run some on your bolt action and all that, but when you're talking AR style, there's a 300 blackout or 223 or even 22 LR, whatever, you're going to be running 458 SOCOM. For you, have you gone through a bunch of different optics, whether it's red dots or holographics or whatever, different styles, and figured out what kind of your eye likes?
I don't really care one way or another, to be honest with you. I'm a big proponent. I totally get what you're saying. I mean, some people, I did some filming today with a single action pistol. All I'm going to say, Patreon people, and you guys have access to that already. You know what I'm talking about. But let's just say a single action revolver, right? And so that the blade and the notched rear in a single action revolver, and it's got to be getting old because it used to not be a problem. If I don't have a contrast between that front and rear, I'm starting to have an issue, right? That being said, if that's not an issue for you when you start out, and I know some people become firearm owners and start out late in life, I totally get it. I highly recommend learning irons and all of that, shooting with that as much as you can, becoming comfortable and competent with that as much as you possibly can, until that eyesight starts to go, and don't rely strictly on optics as a crutch. That's one thing that worries me about potential new firearm owners. And even a lot of these new firearm channels I see, man, and it's all tactical, poly, whatever stuff with dots and scopes. And you're like, okay, does this guy understand the simple mechanics? Because, it's a totally different game, and you can utilize that optic. That optic can become a crutch. And so same way with triggers and other things, other amenities, let's say, that you mentioned, they can become a crutch. I'm a big proponent of honing your competency with as basic of a firearm as possible and really building up those good fundamentals. That said, back to the it depends on the task at hand. I mean, we've talked about this when we talked about budget optics and budget firearms and all this other. It totally depends, man. On ARs, I've got anything from $4,000 thermal to literally $40-$50 red dot and everything in between, right?
Right.
So it's, what is that rifle used for? If I'm gonna go optic, a low variable power, honestly, or I've got a Barska on my on one of my custom 1022s, and man, shooting just still challenge or something with that is easy to do with that one power. Both eyes open, not a problem at all. So, yeah, I mean, it for me, it runs the gamut. But I would say that either a low power, variable, or a red dot, some type of red dot, not holographic, but tubed style red dot. Yeah, it's going to be something. I mean, smaller package, lighter weight, and with both of those, right? So that's kind of my go-to, I guess, if I had one.
Yeah. And I love what you started out with, iron sights, and that's something that if you're out there and you're new to firearms, especially the AR platform, before you jump into an optic, whether, when you hear tube red dot, okay, so that's going to be something like this. It's the tube red dot. And you turn this on and it's going to have literally a red dot. Now, it could have several different types of reticles where you just got the dot, then you have the crosshairs, then you have the circle dot and the circle crosshairs. But when you hear red dot, that's typically what he's talking about, is just something very simple, red dot. It's lightweight, it's small, it has unlimited eye relief. And so when we talk about eye relief, and if you're watching videos out there, that's going to be something that is going to be important to some people, especially when you start talking about LPVOs and all of that. With red dots, it's in holographics. You talk all the holographics. That's the EOTech 512. We're going to go into all of these, but with unlimited eye relief, you're talking about where your eye sits to the glass. And when you're talking about unlimited eye relief, you can go as far back as you want, and you're still going to be able to see that dot. Now, with eye relief with LPVO, it's usually 3 to 4 inches. Usually is what they say is 3 to 4 inches. Sometimes up to 5, depends on the magnification and all that.
Yeah, some of them are kind of some of them are quote unquote handgun compatible or whatever. So it's a lot longer eye relief. I'd say this real quick about that eye relief, since you bring it up, is
sure.
You need to be paying attention to the task at hand, because if you're talking about like a competitive use, let's say, right, and you're in some awkward positions around barricades or under doors of vehicles or whatever it might be, right, the proper eye relief may be impossible with whatever position you find yourself having to shoot from. So that definitely needs to be taken into consideration when you're picking whatever the optic might be for that particular firearm.
Absolutely, and and we're talking, and we're just talking optics. You know, it doesn't have to be ARs or handguns or whatever. But yeah, eye relief is going to be really important when you get outside of a red dot / holographic game. These are going to have unlimited eye relief, and the worst thing that you can do when you start talking about a scope or an LPVO is having issues mounting it to where you're seeing shadows around the edges, and that's really, or you're only able to see half of the visual. It's going to be worthless to you if you don't get it right. So no matter what anyone tells you on YouTube, they say, well, here's where you want to mount it. Now, typically you want to start out with an LPVO basically with this, as you can see on this one, right there at the charging handle. That's a good place to start with, especially with a collapsible stock. You can move your stock in and out a little bit. For me, I like to keep my stock right where it is because I have all of my AR pistols and ARs with the same length of pull. And we're not going to get down length of pull. That's a whole other discussion. Go YouTube it out there. Go Google it.
It might be advantageous to elaborate on that a little more, though. Quite honestly, I mean, we may have some people out there that don't understand, because here's what I was going to say about that. So you don't want to
help eye relief, obviously.
Here's the thing. I mean, you've got a natural and it's related to the length of pull. Length of pull is essentially from the butt to the trigger, right? Into the butt to the trigger. And depending on that length, your cheek is going to fall in a certain spot naturally when you pick that rifle up, right? And so you want to bring your optic to that natural point. So length of pull totally matters as to where that optic's going to be mounted, right? Absolutely. You don't want to, I see it all the time, that people mount an optic and they pick that rifle up and they're moving their head around forward and back. And you're like, match the optic to the length of pull. And then when you bring that rifle up, it's there every single time. You don't have to hunt for it.
Yep. I like what I like to do. And it's going to be interesting depending on the optic itself. I'll have my length of pull basically the same through any AR or AR pistol that I have. I like a certain, and then I kind of know where it's at. For me, on a collapsible stock, if it's a 3 position, I like it right in the middle. It's good for me. I don't have really long arms and all that. So right in the middle is pretty good for me. And so then once I know that my stock's going to be in the same spot, or my pistol brace, whatever you're using, then I'll mount the optic and I'll find where I get the best sight picture. Now, for a dot, especially like a tube dot, if I'm going to be doing CQB, I'm going CQB, I'll be looking on top of this, right over it. I'm not going to be looking through it necessarily while I'm scanning. Engage, yes. But I'll look there. And so some dots, depending on the size of it and all of that, some dots I'll have it right kind of there. Sometimes I'll have it all the way up. There are some guns that I've had to put literally, and it looks weird, I know, but I've had to put a dot at the end almost towards the muzzle, and it looks like a weird ass front sight. It's a red dot, but that's where, for me, I got the best picture. So I don't use that dot on that particular AR pistol because I don't want my dot out there. I want my dot, and this is not something you have to do. But no matter what kind of optic, I want to say this, as far as mounting them, I've got videos out there about mounting. Clover probably does. Everyone's got one. But the best thing that I can tell you is, if possible, try to mount your optics on the rail that's attached to the upper. Okay. Because that's going to have the most stability. It's going to hold zero. It's probably not going to have issues. If you start mounting it out on the rail and the handguard Picatinny, you're just asking for issues with gas, with all sorts of stuff. So if you can, try to mount it on the rail section that's attached to that upper. That's kind of a starting point. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this concept fell into my head once upon a time with archery training. I don't remember, but with archery, you've got a sight on the bow, and then you have a peep on the back, or you anchor the string at a certain point in your eye, essentially. So you got the front sight would be the one on the bow. Your one in the rear. Your rear sight would be your eye, or of course the peep sight to the back, right? Same as any other firearm with the front and rear sight. When you're talking about like a red dot. So here's the thing with that. As the distance gets further away from the front sight to the rear sight, that's increasing. That's actually a good thing, right? And so what am I thinking here? Somebody give me the word. I just mentioned it in the video. The sight radius. That increases your sight radius. For precision purposes, the longer the sight radius, the more accurate you're going to be with that, right? On the contrast, the shorter it is, the quicker it is to pick up. Okay. So it kind of depends on what you're doing. I've got people out there have seen some pictures of my FAL, and I've got an old school Trijicon ACOG on it that's mounted quite a bit forward.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's silly. And I'm like, but it's a 308. I want more sight radius because I'm shooting a further distance. So that's why if it was, just an AR-15 or, something like that, yes, I would probably move that back a lot further than what it is. So just keep that in mind when you've got a red dot. That red dot is essentially that red dot is your front sight and your eye is the rear sight.
That's a great way of putting it. Let's kind of go into LPVOs since I've got one right here, and LPVOs are something that I'm getting into now. I never did like them. I've shot a bunch of them before. I never did like them because I've always liked red dots, or I love holographic. I like a reflex, an open faced reflex really well, especially for CQB. But as you're getting older, and this is a 1-4, this is a 1-6. This is a 1-4 from Monstrum. And this I got in today, literally in the mail today. I haven't mounted it yet, but I've kind of messed around looking through it. I like it because it's a 1-4, which for me, 1-4 is going to be great for out to about 200, 250 yards. Because your natural eyesight should, and normal people is going to be able to, I'm not saying you're going to identify it as friend or foe, but you're going to be able to make out a silhouette target at 200 yards. So 1-4 is going to give you a great thing, because you can go 4 and it's still going to be able to not necessarily be like that scope, but you have 1-6s, 1-8s, even 1-10s that give you the true 1x magnification. It's going to be just kind of like your normal red dot, but it's going to give you the availability to zoom in up to, on this one's a 4 times magnification, and 1-6, 1-8, 1-10 on other ones. This is a 1-6 here. I've got some 1-8s coming as well for it. And that's going to be good. 1-6, out to about 400 yards or so. And 1-8s are going to be great for 500 yards and more.
You're talking about NOM era snipers. We're running 10x. We're running 10x.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're talking about they're shooting 1,000, 800, 1,000. Maybe even further. Running 10x. Usually 10x Unerdle was what a lot of them ran.
Yeah, and you're talking about having, and just let's say this was a 10x. You're going to have the availability to go from, let's say, 0, 1 yard, 5 yards, whatever, to 1,000 yards without having to change optics, to re-zero. It's, you're going to have to know your holds, but a lot of them are going to have your hold spots, whether it's a mil reticle or a BDC. They're going to have different holds for different yardages, but you're going to be able to zoom in. And the reason why I wanted to start talking about LPVOs is the biggest thing that you get the questions on, and I see this a ton, is focal plane. And people have no idea what first focal plane and second focal plane, what it really means, and what should they get and all that. And once again, we're not going to sit there and say what you should get, because your eyes are going to work better. You're going to be looking for something. But regardless, in an LPVO, you're going to see a number when you're looking at them, and it's going to be like 103/100 or 115/100 or 125/100. And what that's going to tell you is at 1x, 1 magnification, when you're looking out this, you're going to be able to see at 100 yards. This one I think is 105. So you're going to see 105 feet at 100 yards.
Field of view.
Field of view, exactly. And what you're talking about when you start going magnification is obviously as you magnify, it's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, when it comes down to focal planes, then you have first focal plane and second focal plane. And we're going to talk a little bit about them. First focal planes are usually typically, Gabriel says they're going to be a little bit higher LPOs. Yes, because of the technology. So basically when you talk about first or second focal plane, is first focal plane is when you're on one magnification, you're going to see that dot or whatever that reticle is. Okay. As you zoom in, obviously the picture is going to get bigger, but in the first focal plane, so is the reticle. The reticle is going to grow and enlarge with the size of that picture that you're, or the target or whatever you're looking at down the scope. And where that comes into play is a lot of people like it. And I think for I would say I personally like second focal plane better as I've gotten used to them. But I could see where first focal plane is going to be really nice for someone who's getting used to this, because especially if you're going to run it, let's say a 1 to 4, you're going to keep this on a 2 or 3. You may not ever go down to that 1x. You might keep it at 2 or 3 or even 4 at that matter. Having that reticle enlarge with that screen, a lot of people like that because it's going to be a better reticle to see. This has an illuminated reticle as well, so it'll be red or green, so it's really going to pop as you zoom in. When we talk about Chloe, bring you in a first focal plane first. Do you like first focal plane? What are in your eyes some of the advantages and disadvantages of first focal plane?
So can I speak to magnification first?
Absolutely, yeah, go for it.
Jump in on that. So just like we talked about with your NOM era snipers running 10x, and I would venture a guess that even a lot of people in the military, soldiers, whatever, still run 10x on a lot of stuff nowadays. Now, obviously, if it's on a 50 or a 338 LPVO or something like that, they've probably got something that gets out there a little further. But a lot of people
they're not going to be running a 1 to 10. They're going to be running a 4, or they're going to start out at 4 magnification. Exactly.
A fixed. So a lot of people get really hung up on a high power of magnification for whatever reason, right? And they say, well, even at 100 or 200 or 300 yards, if I've got a 24 power, 26 power, 32 power, I can really zoom in. Well, that's great. But then that gets into first focal plane, second focal plane, being able to read that reticle versus the target, right? When you start getting at higher distances. And also you got to realize that as you magnify your sight picture, let's say, you also magnify your errors. And if you don't believe me, take a scope that's not mounted. Everybody's done this, right? In the pawn shop or the Bass Pro or wherever, they just shut a scope up and how hard it is to hold that thing steady, right? Well, it's going to magnify every little, your heartbeat, your breathing, all of that's magnified the more you increase the magnification. So now higher magnification to me has a place, right? Even though I might not shoot any more than, let's say, 10 power, I might not take a shot on anything more than 10 power, where the magnification is for spotting purposes, right? I could crank that up to 26 power, to 32 power, to whatever it might be, to be able to be able to spot whatever I need to, right? I use that higher magnification and then dial it back down before I take my shot, right? I can dial it up. I can get a better idea of what's going on, maybe identify the animal, whatever it might be, right? And then back it back down to where I'm, it's a happy medium between I can see it well, and it's amplifying my errors so much that the reticle's all over the place. Now, to talk first focal plane and second focal plane, again, I get back into the GIMP. You don't want to GIMP yourself. And I feel that a lot of people that start off with it, you remember Charlie saying this as well. He doesn't like first focal plane. And it's because you start off handicapped, right? You've got this piece of technology that doesn't let you build up the fundamentals of how scope works and ranging things and all of that, right? And so thankfully, with the price of first focal plane stuff being higher than second focal plane, right? And just the abundance of things out there available in second focal plane, I don't think we're seeing a lot of that GIMP people that might be coming in new, right? Most of them go get the second focal plane stuff because it's cheaper. They learn on that and then they graduate up. So they build those fundamentals. But that's what I would say about first focal plane and second focal plane. Again, it goes back into learning iron sights to start with. I would say go second focal plane. Go second focal plane. Mil dot is my preference, not mil radian. Mil dot and or not an MOA, but mil radian is what I'm getting at. With mil dot, second focal plane, learn on that, and then I think you can, as you move into MOAs, as you move into the newer stuff, MOAs and
BDCs.
Yeah, at first focal plane and all of that, you're going to be familiar. You've got the fundamentals you need to be able to operate that to its fullest potential, right?
Yep. Now he's talking about second focal plane, so let's kind of discuss what second focal plane. This is a second focal plane optic here, and once again, at 1x, you've got whatever reticle is in there, a mil, MOA, a BDC, like this one is. If you're wondering what the BDC, and I can't show it because I don't want to pick that up, but just for giggles, so let me get this to a 1x. And I was trying to do it. I'm going to put my screen on here real quick. So let me take this off. So this is at 1x. Let me see if I can find it. So I eliminated the reticle. So at 1x, that's what the BDC is going to look like. So when you magnify it, I'm going to go all the way up to 4x. Now, let's see here. There we go. You can see that not only is the picture going to get bigger, but that reticle is going to go with the magnification. So you're talking about being able to do that. Now, once again, I personally like a second focal plane because of this. The second focal plane is when you are going to magnify that image, your reticle stays the same size. No matter if it's at 1x or 10x, that reticle is going to stay the same size. Reason why I like that, I think where Clover is going with that is, once again, if you take the concept, which I really love, by the way, of using your eye is your rear sight and your reticle is the front sight. I love that idea. When you're talking about second focal plane and why it's helpful probably is the picture is going to get better. Now, with a first focal plane, I understand if someone maybe have eyesight issues where they're nearsighted or farsighted, a first focal plane might work better for you. But if your eyesight's good enough to where you can pick up that reticle at 1x, then what I don't like about first focal plane is as that reticle grows, it almost takes up too much of my sight picture. And I want to be able to still, just like a front sight, you should be focusing on that front sight / have that target kind of distort a little bit. But if that reticle starts growing and it's taking up most of that sight picture, sometimes your eyes can get distracted too much on the optic and the reticle versus the target. So I don't like having that reticle grow. Well, I think that there are definitely uses for them for certain people, for sure. Go ahead.
Well, there's another thing that I would say. It keeps everything consistent, and I think that's good in a way. Kind of like I said, kind of depends on the task at hand. If you're talking about precision work, though, the thinner that reticle is, the smaller that reticle is, the more precise everything is. So if you're zooming in and blowing it up, I mean the point of aim and the point of impact is going to be somewhere in that red spot, that huge red spot, right? Whereas if that doesn't grow, it's a more precise correlation between point of aim and point of impact. That's what I'm getting at.
And it's just like for red dots, when you're zeroing it. Now you can run it however you want, but when you're zeroing a red dot, you want to put that, if it has different levels of brightness, you want to put that brightness on as low of a level, as dim as you can barely see it. And that's going to get you the best zeroing. Now, once you get it zeroed, if you want to crank it up a little bit, you can. But for zeroing a red dot, crank that down to the lowest level of light that you can actually see that dot.
Yep.
Once again, if you've got it cranked up, that dot's a lot bigger than it is when it's really dim. So you take that for what it's worth.
It's got more glow to it or whatever.
Right. Now, Del Rey out there says he's shaded colorblind, so he doesn't like red dots, but green and blue. Now, this is something that I'm not colorblind, but this was at NRA, I guess it was 3 years ago, whatever it was in Dallas. Okay. Is NRA at Dallas. And I was talking with the Holosun people there for a while. And that's when they first came out with their yellow dot. And I was like, yellow dot, that doesn't seem like that would be good for me and all that. And he goes, actually, it probably may not be good for you. He said there's a reason why they came out with the yellow dot or gold dot, whatever they called it, is that people that are colorblind, the one color that the vast majority of all colorblind people can see is yellow/gold. It's not going to look yellow or gold, but they can pick that color up and it stands out. And so, Del Rey, if you're out there and you're looking for a dot, you might want to go and try to find a yellow dot and see how you like it. Apparently, that works really well with colorblind of all different kinds of color blindness. But supposedly, the science says that yellow/gold dots work better. I don't know.
Interestingly enough, getting back into the Trijicon I've got on the FAL, right? It's amber. Right, and then we're talking an old school, right?
That's before
any of this tactical stuff we're talking about nowadays was really ever even thought of. That thing come out, and it's amber. And I've seen a lot of amber stuff. The blues, the greens, the purple. Even seen a purple that was pretty interesting. And so there's
green every now and then.
Green is just to me. Green is I don't know how to phrase it. I can see red without a problem.
Same here.
I don't have a problem seeing red. But to me, green, if you're talking about a competition use setting where you're looking at it constantly over and over and over and over, to me, green creates less eye fatigue. And I know that may sound weird, right? But it's just a cooler, it's like a cooler color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a cooler color, and it gives off more contrast to me. And so my eyes don't work as hard looking through it or whatever. I don't know. It's strange to say, but I do prefer green. I have more reds than anything because that's the most abundant, right? But I do enjoy a green.
Yeah, I do too. I probably prefer green over red. If I've got an optic like this right here, it's got green and red. So I'll probably go green. With it a lot of time for some reason. Yeah, my eyes pick up green. It's clearer to me maybe than red is. Now Del Rey says Axion has tricolor. This is an Axion 1:6 by 24. Axion. This is an Axion red dot. Axion makes really good products. Obviously, Clover and I are good friends with Axion and Umarex and Walther and that whole umbrella family. But Axion is making some really, really good quality stuff for inexpensive. This is a 1:6 by 24 mil reticle, second focal plane for $179. That right there is $179, and I like it so far. So it's one of those that Axion's making some really, really good stuff, and their lights are good. Funny because Clover and I have been discussing this a lot. We both got sent a pistol light, and there's been questions, and I'm not going to go into it because you'll have to watch Clover's video because I've already put my kind of review out. His is going to come out, and he's going to kind of go into marketing things that sometimes at companies, not everyone are on the same page about things. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to be doing that. Net Floater's out there. Mad Sexy's out there. There was, I think, Mario. I want to go back real quick if I can find it. Okay. I'm still wondering why civilians want CQB sites or plate carriers. Let's face it, most have never trained enough to be proficient. Just my opinion. I mean, honestly, I get the sentiment. I do. And the vast majority of people are never going to have to worry about having a plate carrier. The vast majority of
Yep.
people are never going to have to go and clear a house CQB style. But just because you may not ever have to utilize it, I think learning the skills now, plate carrier, that's up to you. But learning CQB skills is not just about CQB. It's about scanning and being able to scan something without having to look through your optic. It's about reacting quickly and identifying threats quickly, friend or foe, and you got to train your mind to do that. Typically it's done in low light. Being able to work a room or a house or a building in low light is incredibly important. These are all skills that you may not have to know, you might have to utilize, but knowing them are only going to make you better and more proficient as a firearm owner and handler. So I do believe that, and let's come down to it. Why do most people go and get CQB training and buy plate carriers? Honestly, be real, they probably have some unlived out fantasy of being in the military, or they see a movie and it looks cool. They like the tactical side of things. So they want to be able to have that. But I have absolutely no problem with people wanting to go get CQB training and they do their training, they do it with their carriers on. Because like I said, you may not ever have to use it, but wouldn't it be nice to have those skills in case? It's just like a carry gun. You may not ever have to use it, but I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
My wife and I have been walking, and I threatened. I've said for a long time.
Load on, absolutely.
I've got plate carriers, and for a civilian, I think it's one of probably the most worthless things you can probably get for most people. I don't ever see a legitimate time that I'm going to have to use that. Is it cool to have? Absolutely, 110%, and I'm all for it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to buy or not buy, or that you don't need it, because only you know that. And regardless of whether you need it or not, needs and wants are two different things. And we're red-blooded Americans, and we can have it. By God, go buy one. But back to what I was saying about the walk-in, I told her, I said, I'd want to put a T-shirt or something on over it, or wear something, a hoodie or something over it walking. I wouldn't want to walk down the highway with my plate carrier on. But I thought, that might actually benefit me, just by having the extra weight, right? In walking, as far as like working out type thing. So now, can you buy weight vests? Yes, you can. You can go buy a dedicated weight vest for training. But if I've got a plate carrier, why? Right.
So I'm going to be doing something on Memorial Day this year, and it's called the Murph Challenge. And Lieutenant Michael Murphy was the OIC. Everyone's familiar with Marcus Luttrell in Lone Survivor, but if you remember the movie or you've read the book or you listen to Marcus talk, his best friend was Mike Murphy. He was Lieutenant, a Navy SEAL. He was actually the officer in charge of his team and died on the mountain. Obviously, Marcus was the only one that lived. But legend, I mean, people have been talking about this for years, that legend had it that Murph, almost every day that he was inside the wire, like in camp, not outside and doing his patrols, but in camp, every day he would do the same PT, and he would try to get other people to do it. And they were just, a lot of people wouldn't, like, screw that. What he did is he put his plate carrier on. And the plate carrier is going to weigh about 20 pounds. Okay. When all your plates are in there and your mags, it's going to be 20 pounds. And it's not 20 pounds is a lot heavier than people think when you're talking about on your back, your shoulders, and all of that. But what he would do is he would start out with a 1 mile run. He'd run a mile and then he'd go do 100 pull-ups. I think it's 200, let's see here, 100 pull-ups, maybe 200 push-ups and 300 air squats, and then go run another mile. And he tried to do all of that in an hour, all of it with this 20-pound plate carrier on. And so when he died, a couple of the guys on the teams got together and they started this Murph Challenge on Memorial Day. And it's all across the country now. and I was asked to kind of be a part of something, and we're trying to do it ourselves and then put our videos out there all on Memorial Day. I'll probably actually do it a few days ahead of time and then make the video and all that. But you're talking about exercising with it is it's not a bad idea, whether it's a heavy vest or whatever. If you're going to be active, push yourself that to something that you may not think you can do. And if you're going to go walk 2 miles and walking 2 miles gets boring for you after a while, go put a heavy vest on or do something, a flak jacket or a plate carrier. A 20-pound plate carrier walking 2 miles is going to be a hell of a lot different than it is walking without that. So it's stamina, it's building up muscles, and doing all that stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Plate carriers, hopefully you'll never have to use one. Are they worth buying? That's entirely up to you. I mean,
They're certainly affordable nowadays. That's for
they're
sure.
affordable. They're much more affordable.
You're
than they
talking
were
like if
5
you're talking
years ago,
about
for
if
sure.
you're talking about simple AR500 plate. I mean,
Yeah.
it's especially
you
some
can
of
go
the
and
sales they
find
run.
you can go and find AR500 plates front and back for $100.
Yeah,
Where
I've
they
seen
could be
I've seen
$400, and then you go
I've
find a
seen
Condor $25 plate carrier, and for
well
$125, you've got the whole setup.
I've seen some setups before. I want to say AR500 Armor does them quite often. Is it Veritas or one of the other ones? $99, free shipping, front and rear, and a carrier.
Yep.
Okay, occasionally, like I'd say maybe 2 or 3 times a year. You
Absolutely.
see that. I mean, how quick do you need one, right? So wait for a sale, but yeah, and I mean, is it military quality? I mean,
You don't need it to be.
well, here's the thing, and a lot of people talk smack about that. If they're rated, pay attention to the company. And I don't remember the rating, but if they have the rating on there, that goes through government qualifications and everything else as FBI, ATF, Department of Defense. It's the same rating that they do. They have to submit samples and stuff for that, right?
That's
So,
correct.
you're getting, theoretically speaking, I'm sure that we've heard from folks that deal in AR500 steel that AR500 steel is not all created equal.
That's
And
true.
obviously Spalding and Buck's talking about trauma pads, and there's all kinds of other
Yeah.
extras to the plates, right?
Soft armor.
Yeah, that make a difference as well. But for most situations, and at the end of the day, if you was ever in a hairy enough situation that it's better than nothing.
Absolutely, it is. Mad Sex has got a question. I want to let you feel because I don't use them. I don't like. I wear my shooting glasses are usually tinted. They're either dark gray or light gray. I don't like yellow, and I don't necessarily like clear. I like to have some tint for glare reasons and all of that. But Mad wants to know for out there listening and all that. What are using? Okay, what about using the yellow shooting glasses like Clover has? How would that work out? And I think this is going back to where seeing the yellow reticles and the amber reticles, maybe for colorblind. But overall, let's kind of dive down into that with the shooting glasses, because the yellow lenses and different color lenses of a shooting glass are going to help clear or help you see these reticles and the optics as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure what he's getting at. Maybe he's getting at, does it wash it out because you're looking through a yellow tint, right? And you've got to realize that yellow tint is so close to your eye that it's not making as much of a difference. It's more or less, it's changing the definition of what you see rather than the colors on what you see. And I'll give you one better. I have, usually I'm shooting with those Hunter Safety Gold, obviously, but I do have a set that contains some rose lenses, and a lot of shotgunners use rose lenses because they really make the orange on a sporting clay pop. I mean, that sucker, it glows like it's radioactive. It's pretty cool. But even if I use those, and you're really not supposed to use those, right? When you're, for other stuff, that's really for shotgunning. But even if I use those, and I have before, whether you're looking at a red dot, green dot, I mean, with a red dot, because red is close to that orange color of a clay, it does I guess, highlight the red a little more than it would otherwise. And if it's an amber, dot or something like that, it does too. But as far as if you're running a green or something like that, again, it doesn't wash it out or cancel it out in any way. So, and again, that's because those glasses are so close to your eye. So that's kind of how that works that way. I don't want to get into ocular health and and everything.
No, and you have other reasons why you wear those glasses, not just for shooting.
Yeah, well, I mean, and once you understand that, that's what I'm saying with and I don't want to, I don't mind shilling. Hunter's HD Gold's awesome stuff. But if you talk to them, they've been into the optometry game since like the 70s, right? And so one of the beautiful things of that friendship, knowing Brian and the conversations we had, is he knows the human eyeball and the way it works, right? And so understanding, it's kind of like Delray Dan out there, some others have talked about with people's eyes being different, and just kind of learning normally anyway. People can have deficiencies and different things going on, and eyesight can deteriorate, and different things can happen. But normally with normal ocular health, let's say, the color of your glasses, when you're talking about actual shooting glasses, don't make that much of a difference. Now, if you get into some off the wall things for fishing or, industrial work or something like that, then yes, those aren't shooting glasses. So those are designed, the lens tint and everything else is designed in a little different way. So hopefully that explains it.
Yeah. Defense that says, I still can't do red dots. So I wish I didn't have such bad astigmatism. I don't have one, but I know people that do, and everyone swears that the Prism sights are the only ones that people can use with astigmatism. And we're Prisms are nice. That I don't have the astigmatism, so I don't get that medical physical benefit from a Prism scope. What I will say about most Prism scopes, especially if they have the etched reticle, those are going to be nice whether your battery runs out or not, because that etched reticle is going to be there to pick up whether your battery runs out or not. So if you have that bad astigmatism, go check out a Prism sight. Okay. Everyone that, like I said, I can't verify, I can't do all of that, but everyone that I know that have astigmatism swears that Prisms are the only ones they can use. So there's that. So the next one we're going to talk about is a holographic, and this is an EOTech 512. This has been for the longest time my favorite optic, and you can see it's a holographic sight. It's a holographic reticle, the circle dot. Now with a holographic, the reticles are going to be a little bit more fuzzy just in general because it's a holographic. It's not an LED light like a red dot is. But the one thing about this is if you're going to have a battle rifle, that you're not looking to go into LPVO where you're going to get different magnifications. You just want a dot and you're going to be calling it a battle rifle or whatever. Be willing to spend the $300 or $400 you're going to have to spend for EOTech. And here's why. When it comes down to a Red Dawn scenario, battle rifle, whatever, the great thing about a holographic sight is if the front glass gets broken, the holographic reticle is projected up and you can see it. It's not projected through mirrors onto the glass. It's projected up. So if that front glass gets broken and a crazy, what do you want to call it? Red Dawn, shit hits the fan, whatever. If a front glass gets broken in a red dot, that is a paperweight. It is literally worthless because it has to reflect off of mirrors and project onto the glass for you to see it. Holographic, that front glass can be broken and you're still going to see that reticle. One other good thing about this, now it really doesn't matter anymore because these little 2032 little batteries that all these red dots run on, you can get them for nothing at Dollar General now. So they're very rarely. A few years ago, they weren't as available, where this EOTech runs on AA batteries, and it's great. So everyone can find AA batteries for cheap, or you can take them out of the remote or whatever. But when you're talking about the advantage of a holographic, that is the biggest advantage of a holographic, is if you're going to use it for war fighting, or, I mean, I'm not saying you're ever going to have to do that, but if you ever think that you're going to be in that scenario where I have to have that glass working, that right there will work without that glass. Now, I know that you're not a huge fan of holographic, Can you go through the process as to maybe why you're not a huge fan of holographic sights? Uh-oh.
Yeah, no,
Logan,
I'm still
oh.
here.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, we might have dropped them.
No, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm not a huge fan on any of them though. It's kind of like what I
Right.
said earlier. So I don't know. I don't necessarily have an issue with it. Um, with any of the like the holographic, the reflection factor. I don't know. I don't know how to put it right. But when you get into the glass, and then you're talking about the sun being behind you, you get into those type of situations. That's one of the things that bugs me with things like that.
Sure. Now Buck out there says you need to rattle can that it looks bad on the battle rifle. Well, I'm not going to. After I get done with I'm going to have comparisons. I've got 2 1-4s coming in, 2 1-6s, and 2 1-8. So I have 6 LPVOs coming in, all in the next week or so. I already got a couple of them in. We're going to be doing comparisons on LPVO. First of all, we're going to be doing videos explaining what LPVOs are, the benefits of them, what could be the downsides of them, how they work, how to zero. It's going to be a huge series. It's going to be about a 15 to 20 video series when it's all said and done. But we're going to do comparisons of the 2 1x4s. So we're going to do comparisons within the magnification. We're also going to do comparisons on price points, where you might have a 1-6 that's the same price point, basically like this. This Monstrum is about the same price point as this 1-6. This is a 1-4, 1-6. This has illuminated BDC. This has a mil reticle, but they're within $20 of each other. So we'll do a comparison on price, not necessarily if they're the same kind of optic and all that, which will give you guys an idea. But until that's done, I'm going to keep them all how they are from the factory. And then once I get done, if I decide to throw one on here permanently, then I'll probably, whichever one I decide to go with, I will probably paint it up to match the battle rifle itself. But yeah, I get it does kind of stand down. It does kind of look weird. But most people have been used to seeing that on there for so long. I've had this on there for probably 3 years, maybe longer, 4 years. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've had this on there, so it's been on there forever. But yeah, it does look different, but I'm not going to do any painting with them until I figure out which one I want. If I am going to put one on, which one I'm going to put on that particular rifle. Now, Del Rey says, let's see here. Nebraska Gun Freaks out there. What's up, homie? Let's see. Dan says, I want to buy a Chevron reticle optic. Any recommendations? Now, when you're talking the Chevron reticle, that's almost like the ACOG. That's kind of what he's referring to as the ACOG with the Chevron. That little, yeah. So Trijicon makes.
Well, there's several companies that utilize that, I believe. But yeah.
But Trijicon makes a phenomenal ACOG. I'm not a big ACOG fan. The actual reticle, ACOG reticle, does not fit my eye great. They're wonderful. I just don't really like them. Trijicon, if you're talking about a higher end, I'm going to let Clover come here in a second. I know he's got one, but for the higher end, Trijicon is one of those that for the price of the higher end, you get value versus price. Trijicon's amazing. Primary Arms has one. There's a bunch of companies that have the ACOG reticle now, but I think Trijicon is the one that the Marine Corps still use. Now they are actually, ironically, the Marine Corps has, they are going to a 1-6 LPVO starting later on this year or next year. But they have finally forever, with the Trijicon ACOG, they are moving to an LPVO and all of that. But I would say if you've got the money, the Trijicon ACOG is value versus price, probably the gold standard of ACOGs. I'm going to bring you in. You've got a Trijicon, but you probably have other ACOGs as well. Let's talk ACOGs for a second.
Okay.
Sorry, I was drinking. Your experience with the Trijicon is an older school Trijicon, but obviously they're gonna work. But when it comes to ACOGs, do you have one that you would recommend to someone who's never really shot one before?
I'm thinking. I mean, the price is so up there. You know what I mean? It's so, the one I've got, the one that I'm talking about on the FL anyway, is it's a Trijicon ACOG reflex. So we're talking about old school, Jack. We're talking late 80s, early 90s.
Yep.
Now, if you talk about what most people envision when they hear ACOG, is the 4 to 32, something like that. And to be honest with you, you're talking about the LVPOs. Nowadays, and especially considering budget-wise, what you can get into an LVPO for.
Yeah.
It almost it's one of them things where unless you're just really trying to pimp out and you like the name and you've got plenty of money in your pocket, it don't make no sense going with like a Trijicon 432 ACOG. It just doesn't.
You're going to be spending $800 to $1,000 for a really solid ACOG.
And then you've got, was it Brow?
Happy birthday, Sarge. Happy birthday. I forgot to tell her. I sent him a text earlier today. Sarge over at C4 Defense, it is his birthday. So everyone blow him up on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you have his number, his cell number, text him. I sent him a text early this morning. I don't think he really appreciated it. But happy birthday, Sarge, by the way. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say you've got the Brow optics. Too, which are very similar. I think they call it the combat optic or something. That's really similar to the modern ACOG. But again, they're just as pricey, if not more, than Trijicon. So
they are.
It's like, I don't know. Does MC Star, does those people, do they make something like that? It's like, yeah, but I think you're getting better quality out of an LBPO for the same amount of money.
Yeah, and I think that's I have been hesitant. I'm not going to lie. I have been hesitant to jump in the LPVO game because I like dots. I like my field of view as well. I like that open field of view and all of that. But I understand, first of all, my eyesight isn't what it used. I used to have 20/10 vision. It's not there anymore. I can start seeing like up close, especially. Things are iffy sometimes. You're talking about having the best of all worlds.
So
it's just to get that 1 to 8. You don't have to run it at 8 magnification. You can run it at 2 or 1 or 3, whatever, but you have the availability to do so many more things. Go ahead before I got to jump into a question from NetFlutter, but go ahead and.
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick, the what I was talking about earlier, that bar scope 1 to 432. What is it is an LVPO. It's 1 to 4 by 32. I've had that since before LVPO was even a term. Right. So I've had LVPO before that was even a thing. Fud Life, right?
Yeah, that's interesting because I totally went to LPVOs, and the most important thing people are going to say, what the fuck is an LPVO? Low power variable optic.
Right.
LPVO.
But like I said, that wasn't an acronym or a thing. No. It was when this come out, and I got this 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was just a
few years ago.
It was a 1 to 4 by 32 compact scope. That's what it was called, literally.
Exactly.
And then somebody, Burris and all of these companies come along and they started calling it the LVPO because it sounded all tactical, right?
Right.
And they sold more by just calling them LVPOs. That's what happened. Let's be honest. The actual scopes have been around a long time.
They have. The good thing about it, like I said, is you're getting the best of maybe all worlds. If you find the right one with the right reticle, whether you like it illuminated or not, you need to do the research. But like I said, for $200, there are a bunch of, whether it's first focal plane or second focal plane, there are some great LPVOs out there that are phenomenal. Just have to get used to looking through a scope and adjusting. Now, NetFlutter out there says, would it matter if you zero the red dot while using the magnifier behind it, or should you go without magnification? I think it all depends on who you ask for. Now, if you're going to go, technically, it shouldn't matter. If you're going to do it, let's just take 100-yard zero, okay? If you're going to zero your LPVO or any magnified or variable magnification scope, it shouldn't matter. I typically have seen and talked to, once again, I'm new to LPVOs, okay? I'm not acting like I'm an expert because I'm new to them. but everyone that I've talked to and everyone that I know that has used them, everyone will say, and Chloe, I'm going to bring you in because you have experience with them as well as magnified actual long range scopes. But most people I talk to say, go ahead. It doesn't matter whether you're on 1X or 4X, let's say on this one, but most people say, go ahead and throw it on 4X to zero it. But it should not matter. Honestly, it should not matter what magnification you're zeroing it. But most people that I have been talking to say that the best practice is to zero it with whatever the maximum magnification is for that optic. I want to bring you in and talk about zeroing variable optics. What would you say? Okay, he might have stepped away.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought you might have to go use the restroom or something.
I've always heard the opposite.
Yeah.
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 I've always heard the opposite. And you got to realize that we're not talking about a 1 to 4 necessarily. We're talking about a 3 to 9, or we're talking about a 6 to 14, or we're talking about an 8 to 24, or who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's a massive, massive jump to be zeroing that in on the highest magnification. What I tend to do is I tend to zero, and this goes really for all optics, not just LVPOs. And we're supposed to be talking about all optics tonight. For some reason, we got hung up on LVPOs or LPVOs or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But typically, I've got a range that I shoot from, like I talked about earlier, right? So let's say I've got a 4 to 16 power. Well, I may max out on that 4 to 16 as far as taking a shot at 8, right?
Right. Sure.
So if I do that, then minimum is 4, maximum is 8, probably 6.
6.
That's where I'm going to zero. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Sure. That way I've got leadway one way or another within my effective shooting range. And then, like I said, the odds of me taking a shot anything over 8, because I do not believe in the over magnification thing when it comes to actually taking a shot. You need to have enough magnification to get it done, and that's it. That's plenty.
Yeah. Now, I think that this is where the zeroing comes in, where maybe first focal plane has an advantage over second focal plane, possibly. When you're zeroing is when you do magnify that image, the reticle is going to magnify as well. Maybe that's an advantage, and I'll find that out here this week when I start going to do some comparisons. But maybe the first focal plane does have an advantage in the zeroing aspect when you're magnifying up. So we'll find that out. Dan says, I'll look into the LPVOs. Which brand did you get? I'm going to have 6 of them come in. So I've got Axion. This is a 1 to 4. This one is a Monstrum, Axion is a 1 to 6. The Monstrum is a 1 to 4. I've got a Swamp Fox coming in. I've got a Bushnell coming in. I've got a Hilux coming in. And there was another one I forgot about the other day too when we were talking. I tried to get Vortex, but Vortex did not reply, so I'm not good enough to get Vortex. And then I'm not going to go buy a Vortex. That's just what it is. What was the other one? Crap.
You know what's weird is I got a Vortex
coming in. Yeah,
they sent me a Vortex Viper like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I did several videos. I've got it on my Glock 17L. I can't get the time of day from them since. Isn't that weird? Yeah. It's like I've grown. I've got more viewers. I get more views, and yet I'm not for some reason now I'm not good enough. So I don't. They changed their policy, I guess, on how they deal with people. I don't know.
I think what's going to happen at the end of that, I was talking with Lance out there off the X. He's out there. He's a buddy of mine. We shoot a lot together, and we were talking the other day. We were at the range, not shooting X. We were looking at having to replace a door or a trailer for a Connex box at the pistol range. Anyways, we were talking about. He's like, I've got 6 of these LPVOs coming in, and I doubt very seriously I'm going to have. I'm going to want to put 6 LPVOs on 6 different rifles. Because I still love holographic. I still love red dot. So I doubt very seriously that all 6 of these LPVOs will be put on rifles full time after the testing's done. So I said, hey, maybe when we get done, I'll let you pick one out and he can have one. But I'll probably be giving one away as well. At least one out to, especially probably the patrons. So if you're a patron over there, I might be giving one of these away when it's all said and done as an LPVO. Because like I said, I'm not going to have the need for 6 of them. But yeah, let's talk out there with magnifiers. So now I ran this holographic forever with a 3x magnifier, which kind of gave me the magnification, which was great. The problem with a magnifier is it's fixed at 3x. If you wanted to go to that 2, there wasn't a way. It's either going to be 1x or it's going to be 3x when you flip over that magnifier. But magnifiers are a great way to get that magnification with a red dot. If you've got a red dot that you really do like, or a holo or whatever, you've got a dot system that you really, really do like. You don't really want to go and buy one of these and all that. You just like your LP, but you would wish it was magnified. Then you can go and buy. Man, there's so many of them. Bushnell's got a going for about $150. I mean, obviously, EOTech's got one, but it's like $300. But there are some ones on Amazon, and I wouldn't go crazy cheap. I've got one on another one. It's a UTG. I pay like $75, and it works great. A little 3x magnifier. But I think for the price value, Bushnell's got about $125 to $150 3x magnifier that's phenomenal. But yeah, you can go find a 3x magnifier to put on your red dot if you want to keep your red dot going, but you wish it was a little bit more, then yes, just go get a 3x magnifier or a 2x magnifier or whatever magnifier you want, and that's going to give you the difference. Is I can go anywhere from 1 all the way up to 4 on this one. 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. Where when you're talking about a magnifier, you're either going to be at 1 or you're going to be at 3 or whatever that magnifier is. So just keep that in mind as well. Steven says out there, put this up on the screen. I want a 3-dot triangle laser that the Alien and Predator the movie. It is so cool. That is pretty cool. I think
they have those. I don't know who makes them, but they do have those.
Pat says that he thinks that Vortex, it's in the works.
Oh, I know somebody who has them, but I can't think of.
They're out there. You're going to pay for them too, though. You're going to pay for them.
Maybe a Google search. I want to say it's a cheap company that has it, though. It's like
NC
really? Star. Yeah, I want to say like NC Star or somebody made one.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that are funny because we talk about different things in movies. A lot of times movies take what's something that already exists and then just like stupefies it. But a lot of the times when they stupefy it, it actually turns out being, wait a second, that's actually a pretty cool idea. Like, what if we did that in real life? It's not just a movie prop. And then there's a company that says, well, let's make it and try it. And then next thing you know, if you think about it, Han Solo had one of the very first pistol optics that you could find.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't exist at the time. But his blaster had a little scope on there, which is kind of the idea of putting a scope on a pistol in 1976 or 1777 was unheard of, I'd imagine. I was only 2 years old, so I can't imagine, but I'm sure it wasn't exactly. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I take that back. What I've seen is from beam shot, and it's actually it's a laser. So it's legit like Predator had. It projects it onto the target, 3 dots. It's called from beam shot.
DEAM? Beam shot?
Yeah, like a light beam. Beam shot. Okay. Yeah. Tri-beam laser from beam shot, about $110.
That's not bad at all, actually.
And you could really freak somebody out because they would think the Predator's hunting him.
Now, is it a handheld or is it a rail-mounted light?
It's a rail-mounted light, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yep. Cool.
Laser, not a light. It's a laser.
Right. That's very, very cool.
Yeah, I had to go find it because I'm like, I know I've seen those before.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll have to go check that out myself. That would be kind of cool.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of lasers at all.
I don't either. I've got laser light combos. I will never put a laser on.
So they're good for a few things.
Use IR with NVGs, but I don't have NVGs, so I'm not going to run an IR
laser. But even then, I mean, the problem that I have with a laser is a laser is rough because you've got bullet arc, right? And so a laser is straight, and so you know you got to figure that it's going to give you a false reading, right? It's a false sense of security, in my opinion, because you put one on a pistol, let's say you're at 10 yards and you move back to 15, and then it can be drastic, and then you move back to 25 and it's even worse. You know what I mean?
And oh, by the way, you have to zero that laser as well.
Yeah, and it gets harder to see the further away you are. You're going to see a red dot at 100, projected on something at 100 yards. Right. So, and as they get further out, it gets bigger.
Yep.
The area that's covered, a lot of people don't realize that either. And so, like for a designator purposes, so like if you're running night vision,
let's say infrared laser.
Yeah,
with I get that.
I'm
going to do that.
Having a handheld unit or somebody being with you and somebody lighting up that pig, with an infrared designator while you've got the night vision on. Amazing, right? Or even using it. I know people that have used like green lasers, for example, and use regular hunting scopes, maybe an LPVO like we're talking about, right? And have somebody light up a pig or whatever it is from 50, 100, 150 yards out with a green laser. And of course, when that light hits, you're able to see that's enough light that it's picking up through the scope and you're able to take a shot. So you effectively can turn a regular scope into almost a night vision scope.
Take it easy, Del Rey. Head out for dinner. See you soon, buddy. Yeah. For me, like I said, the only time that I would ever run a laser is if I was running IR with NVGs. That's the only reason. And I don't plan on needing to do that ever in a civilian world. I'm just saying.
I don't anymore.
Lasers to me in CQ, most people knows that my kind of bread and butter, and I'm not going to say I'm an expert, so I'm not going to say my expertise, but what I am best at is CQB. Okay. And lasers are not good for CQB, in my opinion. One, it gives away your location. There is no reason for a CQB that you're going to need to designate because you're reacting. Okay. So if you're walking through CQB with a laser, people can see that laser. They're going to say, hey, fool coming down from the hallway. Let's smoke them, So I don't like this right here has a light laser combo, but it's set on light. It is not going to see a laser. And that's just me. I don't like lasers. I don't think that they're bad. I just don't think they're practical. They're certainly not practical for what I would use them for.
Well, then again, and you got to be able to see it. Like, I can get, and I've got lasers here, but I'm telling you, at 10 yards on a paper target in the Texas sunlight, sunny sky, you're not going to see it. You can't see the laser. You can't see the red dot because the sunlight, you know what I'm saying? It washes everything so bad that you just can't pick it up.
Yeah. The only thing that I'll say that I think that could possibly be decent is for someone who's carrying, and I would even say an older person or a female that's carrying, especially if they're at night and they're leaving work or they're out at night, that laser can be a deterrent in itself. Okay. Now we all know that we don't want to point at anything that we don't intend to shoot, but sometimes if we intend to shoot that person, but sometimes you point that at them and they see that laser on their chest, they might run away and you've ended that threat with just the laser. I could also possibly see a laser being at 10 yards because most lasers are roughly zeroed. They say a factory at about 10 yards. at a 10-yard mark, being able to, get that laser on someone, it's going to help aiming. Maybe you can't see, you don't have night sights on your pistol.
Well,
you can't necessarily see the sights really well, that laser. But once again, you're talking about a crutch that if you're learning to shoot the laser, you're not learning proper mechanics to begin with. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, 100%, 100%. It kind of gets back into what we were talking about earlier with eye relief, right? With like a something parallax free. So it doesn't matter what awkward position you're shooting from, right? So with a laser, you could shoot from around the corner, right? Pretty much with a laser. So, an awkward position, shooting from the hip if you had to, if you're able to do that. So it provided you're in an environment, like I said, if it's during the middle of the day, are you going to be able to see that? Or, and here's my other thoughts is, if you've got good muscle memory with that, do you really need it anyway?
That's right.
Because it's point shooting, right? And so
it's
in under 10 yards.
Right here, I'm not going to be sighting in anyways. Yeah.
So I say in under 10 yards. So they say 3, right? 3 is the average. 3 yards is the average distance, right? So definitely 3 to 7, I would say. I could shoot from the hip, quick draw, any number of things and hit the silhouette.
Kid style. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And hit the silhouette. So at an encounter that's closer than that, I mean, it's lights out without a doubt. And so at that point, is it really needed? But if it makes them, here's the biggest thing. And this is the takeaway, regardless of the optics we're talking about. If it gets you out shooting more, if you enjoy it, if it makes you more proficient,
if it helps you see something better, absolutely.
Dude, more power to you. More power to you. I ain't gonna talk you out of it.
If buying a $5,000 thermal is gonna get you out and shooting every day, go buy the damn thermal. It's worth it. It's worth it. So we're not. I'm not here. I know Clover's not. We're not here to tell you what you should choose, whether it's a red dot, a holographic, an LPVO. We're not here to tell you what to go get. We're trying to describe and help people understand the difference of them. Maybe what are some benefits, what are some downfalls of the different style optics. We didn't even go into parallax, and do we want to go down that rabbit hole?
I don't know. I do want to talk to night vision, thermal, because we talked about designators and stuff earlier. So, I would say this, and at the end of the day, do what you want to do. But this is coming from years of experience and literally thousands of dollars spent. Save your money in a coffee can, put something on a very, very long-term layaway, whatever it might be. If you're thinking about nighttime stuff, go thermal and be done. Go thermal and be done. Your different lights and designators are going to blow a whole lot of money, and then you're going to eventually graduate in something else, probably night vision. Again, you're going to spend a whole lot of money, and you're eventually going to graduate and find out that thermal is the beast.
You're going to get to thermal anyway.
And you're going to get to thermal anyway after spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to get there, to then spend thousands of dollars. So if you can go ahead and take the plunge and just get into thermal, just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've shot the Thor 4. Is that what it's called? The generation, I guess, is the 4th generation. The Thor. A buddy of mine's got one.
Right.
Man, dude. Yeah. I personally would have no use for it. I don't hunt. Like I said, my expertise, my comfort zone is 300 yards and in, more CQB than anything. So the thermal would not give me something that would be beneficial, but they sure as hell are fun to shoot, man.
And I'll tell you another thing that it makes them really handy is, you can pop those off the firearm, and you might have critters you're trying to figure out what's going on around your house.
Yep.
Bumping the nights and noises and stuff like that. Telling you right now, you are not hiding, whether it's a critter, a human, or anything. You ain't hiding from that thermal, Jack. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. Right. So that's one of the beautiful things is I can't tell you the number of times I've used my stuff not even mounted to a firearm.
Yeah,
for whatever reason. Sometimes it's just watching nature. It's just watching. I'm watching deer. I mean, obviously we can't hunt deer at night, right? But it's watching 6 deer graze in the pasture across the road or something like that. You know what I mean? and it's just sitting there watching them. And it's like, it's cool because it's like, it's pitch black. They're 100 yards away. They got no clue. I can see them. It's clear as daylight. They got no clue I'm there, whatever. It's awesome.
You were speaking of utilizing for outside the firearm. So I've got a couple 1-8s coming. I don't see myself, honestly, I might be pleasantly surprised. I don't see myself enjoying a 1-8. I don't see myself having to use an 8 magnification. Sure as hell probably don't need 2 of them. So if I do mount one, let's say I'm going to go get a 6.5 Creed, I want to put that 1-8 or 1-10 on a 6.5 Creed to reach out to 800 to 1,000 yards. Cool. I'm good with that. But I don't need 2. But I never thought about that. You can go get a 1-8 or a 1-10, hell, even a 1-4, 1-6. But if you go get like a 1-8, 1-10, you could utilize it as a spotting scope. Yep. For sure.
Yeah,
which is kind of
need to rig up some kind of mounting system to stabilize it.
Stabilize it. But but I mean, the idea of being able to utilize your optics for other things outside of just shooting them from a rifle, I never even thought about that. But I mean, that could be a really cool.
Well, they make
a spotting scope, but
they make Picatinny adapters. They make Picatinny adapters for a camera tripod. I do know that for a fact. So you put a 1-piece adapter on your scope, on an adapter for a tripod. Screw it into the tripod, and you've got a spotting scope. Yeah, no, 100%. Now, with the 1-8, the only thing I see that potentially good for is some of the competitions that are out there. Because I mean, they shoot it like they're shooting it like 25 yards, and then all of a sudden they've got to punch 600. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so it would really come in handy for that. But real world
doing that.
real world application. I just don't. I don't see it. But again, you've got 8 force even mounted on the rifle.
You don't have to use it.
Just because you've got 8 doesn't mean you have to use 8. Use 1-4, and then if you want to crank it up to 8 to spot or to better identify, you've got that ability, which is nice.
No doubt. So we're almost at the hour and a half mark. If you guys have any more questions or comments that you want us to discuss, Sean White out there says 1-8 is a lot for 5.56. Yeah, as I'm saying, if I go 1-8, it's going to be like in a 6.5 Creed or 308 or something like that. I'm going to reach out well past 600 yards on. 1-4 to 1-6 is probably going to be where I will probably enjoy. Like I said, I go get a 1-6. Doesn't mean I have to use a 6. I have to use up to 4. I could use 2 or 3x. I'm used to 3x because I've run this EOTech with a 3x magnifier for so long. That regardless of, let's say I'm running this or one of these other 1-6s or whatever, I might just keep it on 3x because that's what my eye is kind of accustomed to seeing. But having the availability to go up to 6 or whatever could be useful in certain situations. It's not just firearms. It's if you're camping or whatever, if you need to be able to see something or whatever. I mean, you have certain things where you would say a binocular, if anything that you can sit there and say I would use binoculars for, you could use a 1-6, 1-8, 1-10 LPVO for that same thing. So there's all sorts of stuff. So I've enjoyed, like I said, we didn't go into details. This, like I said, I've got a series that's going to start out in a couple of weeks. That's literally going to go the rest of the year. I'll have 15 to 20 videos through this series. So talking all LPVO stuff, which I'm really looking forward to. But what we did try to do tonight is kind of give you the idea of a red dot, the benefits of a red dot, the benefits of LPVO, the benefits of prisms, the benefits of holographic, some of the downfalls of them, and say, look, what we're trying to do here is give you the options. And the great thing, people are going to bash on them. Okay. No doubt about it. But there are options out there from some of the Chinese-owned companies that you can get into a red dot for $30. You can get into a a holographic. Well, you can't get really a holographic for very cheap, but an LPVO, some of them are going to be less than $100. Are they going to be the greatest things in the world? No, but they're probably very good to kind of get an idea if you like that or not. And then, like you said before, when it comes to the thermal, but get into something to see if you like it. Once you figure out, yep, I like that red dot, or I like LPVOs or whatever, then I'm going to go and say, okay, now that I know that I like a 1-4 LPVO, then I'm going to save my money and go buy a good 1-4 LPVO. But there are so many great products out there for inexpensive. I'm not going to say cheap because I don't want them to sound like they're terrible products. They're inexpensive. Will they have a shelf life as long as the higher end ones? Probably not. But for what you're going to be using them for, to see if you like it or not, go buy yourself a $25 red dot. Go buy yourself a $75 LPVO just to see if you like it. And then you can go and purchase something else. But that's what we're trying to do now, is give you options, explain a little bit of what you're looking for. Now, Steven says, let's see here. Hold on here. Steven says, how about running a scope with a reflex on the 40? Now, there are a lot of people that will run an LPVO, let's say, and they're going to run it at 4X all the time or 6X all the time. And then they're going to have what they call a little canted 45-degree angle red dot or an RMR. A lot of people are running pistol RMRs as the 45 on a rifle because they're smaller. And they're going to use that for their 1X. So where you can here, you're at 4X, and all you got to do is that right there, and you're at 1X through that red dot. Absolutely. You can most definitely do that. So yes, that is something that a lot of people run, is a little, and it's like I said, it's a little pistol RMR, not even a reflex rifle. It's a real small pistol RMR at a 45, and all that is just a can't boom. Okay, now I've got my 1X magnification optic right there. So if you're using a 1X magnification, you're probably going inside 50 yards, right? Typically. So you don't need a big 1X optic on there. You don't need a big old, you don't need both of these. Go get yourself a cheap or inexpensive pistol RMR or pistol red dot. There's real smaller ones. Mount that on a 45-degree angle, and you have scope mounts that'll have that 45 attachment to it. You can just run it right there on it, and now you've got your 1X through that little RMR, and you can run your LPVO, let's say, on 4 or 6X constantly if you want to. So yes, absolutely, you can do that. Your thoughts on running a dot as your backup 1X sight? What do you think about that?
I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess
that's getting way too tactical for you.
I mean, why not dial it down to 1, or why not have a quick throw or something on it?
Yeah,
to make it a little easier to dial it back down to 1.
I mean, what he's talking about
you're talking about a 1-4. So I mean, you're not talking about I want to quickly go to 2. Right? It's like you slam it all the way one way or all the way the other. So I was like,
and what he's talking about, there are attachments. So this is the dial that you dial from 1 to 4. There's an attachment that goes on here, and it's like a little I don't know,
lever. It's like a bolt
lever. Yeah, and you, instead of having to do it this way, you just grab it and boom, and it's on there. So yes, there are out there. So that
yeah.
Let's see here. Sean says, I've been using 1 to 4 for 5 years. I'm either on 1 or on 4, never in between.
Right.
Exactly. There would be no reason to get a 1 to 4 if you're going to be at 2 all the time. Just go get a magnifier, 2X magnifier or something, or just go and get something else that, who knows. But yeah. So Sean wants to know, with that setup, I can do CQC out to 200 yards. So he's saying, oh, okay, his setup is a TR24 1 to 4 with a Geisley 1.54 mount and a Reptilia micro mount with the Hollow Sun at the 12 o'clock position. So he's going to have his 1X on top and his 1 to 4 at the cant. Now, once again, there are mounts out there, and I think Monstro makes a really good one with a canted scope mount that you can make the LPVO as the canted, where you run your 1X up top. So yes, there are different ways. If you're planning on going 1x more often than not, then yeah, maybe you want to have your primary sight as a red dot and have the LPVO set at 4 or 6 on the canted to where it's sit here. So now all you got to do is just do that, and now you've got your magnification. Once again, it comes down to something that Clover said, and what I've said this whole time from the very beginning. Understand what you're looking for, what your purpose of that rifle is going to be, what you're going to be using it the most for. If you're just going to have fun plinking and you just want to do something cool, different, get whatever the hell you want. If you're using a rifle for a specific type of setup, then that's going to play a role into what optic you're going to go with. If you're going to do nothing outside of 100 or 200 yards, you're probably not going to need an LPVO. You're probably going to look at a red dot or a holographic sight. If you're going to look at something you're never going to be inside 200 yards, then a red dot's not going to do you any damn good. You're going to have to go get some kind of scope with magnification, whether it's LPVO or fixed magnification scope. All of this comes into play. You have to make your decision on what your purpose is for that particular weapon system and then go from there. Don't say, I want that optic and then build a rifle around an optic when that optic may not be what you need at all. So, absolutely. Sean says his red dot is mounted on top. Oh, okay. So he's got the LPVO. He's got the mounted on top of the LPVO. Hey, it's pretty cool. I've seen those before. I don't think I would like it because at that point for me, my cheek weld's going to have to change probably, or someone's going to have to change when you're going in and you're engaging and you've got a pretty stable cheek weld. And that's where I'm going to be looking at my primary optic to see. On top of that, I'm going to have to change that a little bit. And I don't necessarily like that. That's me personally. I'm not saying you're wrong. That's me personally. Do you have anything you want to bring up on that?
No, I was going to say me either. And that's why I don't get more power to you. I mean, hang everything but the kitchen sink off of it if you want. I've got an AR that's that way, right? It's just the Mall Ninja Ridiculous. It's actually my very first AR. Is Mall Ninja Ridiculous with the crap hanging off of it, right? And so that's fine if you've got a use for it. But for me, it's kind of like I said earlier. If you've got the 1 to 4, why do you even need the red dot? I don't get it, and I would never have anything like that anyway. Now, with that being said, I do have offset iron sights.
Sure.
But that's a whole different conversation. If the optic goes down for some reason, I can't, and at least I've got something.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, I probably wouldn't. But I do. I can see we're in a CQB situation where you're going to be going, and I'm talking about a battle rifle. Having a 1 to 4 would be great, but having that 1X little RMR as a backup or on a canted side will be great, specifically for CQB or inside 50 yards. I do see that, but if you can go get a throw lever and you can go from 1 to 4 pretty damn quickly, then chances are. But also, if you go 1 to 4,
about as quick as you can't, I would think.
Probably pretty damn close. The difference with something like this is going 1 to 4 or 1 to 6. If you're doing CQB, I'm not going CQB. I'm not looking through this optic when I'm going CQB. I'm looking right on top of it. Well, I'm getting my field of view. I'm scanning because my rifle, I'm still going to hit that target in 10 yards or less in CQB. So I'm not going to be going scanning a house through this optic. Anyway, I'm going to look right on top of it without having to change a cheek weld or anything. It's going to be right here, but yeah, he said it's not going to change much because of the Reptilia mount, because it brings the red dot to 1.93 scope, which is a third co-witness. So if you're going to use it, we're not even going to co-witnessing or third co-witnessing. It is what it is, but when you hear co-witnessing, what that means is if you're running on, I don't say iron sights, but iron sights basically, and you're talking about a true co-witness, then what you're going to be talking about is your dot. When you're zeroing in that dot, you're going to basically, if your front post on that front sight, and here's the red dot here, you're basically going to have that dot sitting on top of that front post like an eye, like it's dotting the eye, but it's actually going to be touching that. That's going to be a co-witness red dot. A third co-witness is where it's going to be, if this is the scope or the glass, the front sight's going to be in that lower 1/3 where it's going to be above that front sight. It all depends on what you like. I don't particularly like going an absolute co-witness with a dot and irons. Now you should zero it that way, but I'm probably going to flip down those if they're flip up front sights. I'm going to flip down those sights and just run the dot unless I have to go with the rear and front sight. Because for me, if I'm going to absolute co-witness my dot on iron sights, then I'm probably just going to use iron sights at that point, because the mind's eye is you're going to take that extra half second saying, hey, is that dot right on top of that front sight post? Boom, I'm dead. So that's just me. Do you like to 1/3 or absolute co-witness any of your optics, Clover?
Yeah, they're usually lollipopped if they're that way.
Okay.
Because I'm used to lollipop with competition stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
But very few. I mean, most of my stuff that has optics, I'll be quite honest, most of my stuff that has optics don't have irons.
Right.
They're not
and they're not up all the time.
They're not used in a capacity where irons are going to be anywhere near efficient anyway, right?
Sure.
And they're not used in a capacity where it's a critical situation where I'm going to need irons, right? If you're talking my long range bolt rifle, what good is irons going to do me? Right?
Right.
Seriously.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. All right, we're going an hour and 40 minutes. Like I said, if there are any more questions out there, go ahead and leave them out there. And while we're waiting for those questions, I'm going to let you go and take a few minutes. And I know you got a lot of stuff you're working on. You got a lot of stuff coming down the line. You want to tell people where they can find you, but with the podcast and all that. But what projects do you have coming in the line that people might be looking towards?
If I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Well, okay.
You know how that goes, right? Now, well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, when we kicked this off, and I can't believe we've gone for an hour and 40 minutes. Holy crap! And we just broke the surface.
We've scratched the surface.
We haven't talked long range. We haven't really talked night vision and stuff. But none of that
as you can get. Yes.
Yeah. So it's crazy. You could do a show every week for a year on optics. And break it out and still talk 2 hours of show. No, as I said earlier, the last video from Shooting Sports Showcase dropped today. I know some folks are probably sick of that. And the starting, I guess, Sunday it would be. We're kind of back on the regular schedule of two videos a week. So the regularly scheduled programming is coming. I've got the Heritage Barkeep that's here. Some stuff on that's coming. I've got also that light you mentioned from Axion. A little different take, a little different video than the other ones I've seen that are out there. More to come on that. I'm not going to give that away.
Definitely different than my take on that light. Not saying the take, but different style of video, more different information than my on that same.
I've got some more coming on that Gerson MC312 Sport Shotgun. Good gravy. I got some range improvement stuff coming. And then I guess it was last week I've talked with several companies, as you said earlier. This is starting to get into the busy time of year.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've got several companies, more to come on that. I don't want to jump the gun or put the cart before the horse on that till stuff actually starts showing up, right? Especially not with the market the way it is nowadays, because you never know.
Yes.
I swear I get an email every week from Mossberg, and she's like, "I'm sorry, we don't have anything yet. I'm sorry." And I'm like, "I understand. It's all good. It's all good. Whenever you get, the opportunity, get time. I'm here. I'm willing to work with it. Just let me know." But yeah, I got a couple of it's coming contingent upon just the market and these companies being able to get things in. Couple of pretty cool things in the work for the future. Now all of that'll roll out, and then of course we'll go to Tulsa in less than 2 weeks, and there'll be video from Tulsa that'll take over the channel there for probably a week or two. So,
yeah, Donkey up there says he'll see us in a week and a half in Tulsa. Mara says, who's in Tulsa? Wanamaker Tulsa Arms Show. It's the largest gun show in the world. It's a 2-day event. They hold it twice a year in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's 7 acres of a gun show under one roof.
I thought it was 11 acres.
11 acres. You're right. 11 acres under one roof. Over
air conditioned,
4,000 booths. 20 to 25,000 people a day are in that place. It's a madhouse, but it is as American as it gets. And we've been going there since 2017, something like that. 2016
or 20. It's been 4 or 5 years.
It's been 4 or 5 years. It's awesome. It's an awesome place. And we're all Clover and I are gonna be there. Snob will be there. A bunch of us will be there. We'll be there as media, but we'll have our own table there. Come find us. Make sure you come by, stop by the table. If we're not there, leave us a note and say, hey, I'm here.
Right. Or better yet,
go out to dinner with this or whatever,
what I've been telling people, I don't know that we can go out to dinner. Was talking with Wes. I hadn't seen him out there in the chat tonight, but was kind of talking with him about it. He lives there close. He lives in Glenpool, which is close. It's about like a suburb, basically. But he was saying that it was some of Tulsa. Now, Snob did say that Tulsa, the mayor's wishy-washy there. But he said that they were talking about potentially lifting some restrictions the Friday of the show, right? So the Friday before the show opens on Saturday. So if that happens, this may change. But right now, they do have the mask mandate. And also, Wes said that there are restrictions in restaurants. So I don't know that we can have a big get-together. But what I've been saying is we'll get the food to go.
And we'll go somewhere and eat together.
We could sit in the lobby of a hotel, or we can sit out in the parking lot, or whatever we got to do and eat it. Yep, right. What else was I going to say? Oh, what I've been telling people, Donkey Puncher, anybody else, if you're planning on making that show, get with myself, get with Ghost, exchange phone numbers. That way we can text. That way you can text and say, hey, where are you guys at? Hey, where's the table? And we can let you know, because until Friday evening, the Friday before the show, I won't know what our
is. But we think
I've got a general idea where it's going to be. It's going to be on that northwest quadrant, against the outer wall, but I don't know the table number. So, if you'll touch base with one of us, swap numbers, then I can turn around and or one of us can, and just text you and let you know.
Yeah. Now he wants to know, is that Wes that has a shop in Bristol? Does Wes have a shop in Bristol?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know.
If you're out here, he's on a lot of people's chats now. It's Weston Probst. You'll see him out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if he owns a shop or not. I know he just goes every year, twice a year to one, because he lives right there. So but if you're there, if we're not at our table, be looking for someone who's walking around with cameras. There's only going to be a handful of us there with cameras. Myself, Clover, Snob, and maybe 2 or 3 others, maybe
at this point.
But
if you're out there and if you do create content, or you want to take the opportunity this time to start, it doesn't have to be video. Doesn't have to be video. It could be, maybe if you want to Instagram some stuff or whatever, right? We can share media passes, and the more people we've got putting out content from there, the better. So again, touch base with us and let us know, hey, I want to do that. You don't want to get caught taking pictures without a media pass, because they get pretty huffy about that. But we can hook you up.
Yeah. Awesome. Been fun tonight. Like I said, I looked up at the thing. I saw an hour and 40 plus minutes, and I was like, man, we have literally we haven't said our ABCs. We haven't even gotten to B yet. And Sean was like, you could do a whole year on long range. You could. That wouldn't be my chat, because I'm ignorant when it comes to long range. I'm not that guy. Donkey says, I'll send a message on Instagram with his number. Yeah, send it. I think there's a way you can add Clover and myself in that Instagram message. So that way we both have your number.
You can just text me directly. Go to clovertech.com, the website.
Or you can text me. My number is scrolling right down there. You can text that number and it goes to my phone. So
right.
There you go.
However
you want to do it, but get a hold of us. We're going to be there. We'll get in Friday evening, early evening sometime, and I'm probably going to leave, one-ish. Usually, is that about one-ish is when I usually leave on Sundays, unless something's going on, but usually by one-ish or two-ish, I'm out of there, get home by dinner time, and it's only about 3.5, 4 hours for me. So
I'll be
longer.
there till it's over and get home about midnight, 1 o'clock.
Yeah. I have to work the next morning, so I can't do that.
No, I understand.
But yeah, we're gonna be there. That guy's wife will be there. I forgot to mention her.
I've still got to get with it with Krispy Kreme. The Wendy's frosty and Krispy Kreme donuts has to be a thing.
That has to happen.
Yeah,
that will be, and we've got to come up with a really cool hashtag for that exact thing. Mm-hmm. The crispy frost, or I don't know. We have the cream, the frost. I don't know. We got to come up with
the crusty,
the crusty,
frosty cream.
Yeah. I like that. I like it. But we're definitely gonna have to make that happen for sure. I had to get my Whataburgers. I don't have Whataburger around here, so
there's several people that are
talking about that. I've never had a Whataburger. I think it was
Papa.
Alpha, right?
I think it was Papa. Yeah.
And never had a Whataburger, so we're going to indoctrinate them into the wonderful world of Whataburger.
Yep.
While we're there, because there's a Whataburger right across basically the street from Wanamaker. So fantastic. If you're going to be coming in there early, I'm not going to go there anymore. Not anymore, but not this trip. And I know Clover isn't. But if you're interested, we've been so many times. It's scary how many times we've gone. But if you're interested, about 20-30 minutes from Tulsa, you've got the J.M. Davis Museum. If you're willing to come in early, it's free. You just leave a $5 or $10, $20 donation. It's a free museum. It's the largest private gun collection that's on display in the country or in the world. It's one of the two.
In the country, as far as I know. The world, I'm not sure.
And it's amazing.
It is free. However, they keep it open based on donations, and they do have a donation box.
$20 donation, absolutely.
Yeah, so kick in.
$20 in there every time we go.
It's $20. It's well worth $20. You can spend literally all day. We've done it before. We've literally spent all day there.
I've not seen it all, by the way.
Yeah, no, there's no way. There's no way.
Yeah. It's an amazing place. So if you're able to get in there a day ahead on Friday, and you want to spend the Saturday and Sunday the gun show, if you're able to come in Friday, get there and go to the J.M. Davis Museum. Just put in your Google Maps or iPhone, whatever, J.M. Davis Museum. Clover and I both have no telling how many videos from J.M. Davis over the years. Yeah. It is so worth it to go. And there's also the was it the Will Rogers?
The Will Rogers Museum, yeah. I want to get I want to get back. I want to get back to J.M. Davis eventually. And maybe November I might look into it. But it's been, crap, we didn't do anything last year at all. And then the year before that, I don't think we went either, if memory serves. So, it's been a couple of years. And I would love to get back into J.M. Davis. I've got a little better camera set up and gear and know how to work with because that's the thing, is getting content in there. It's not the greatest place in the world.
All the guns are enclosed in glass. So
but I've got some ideas of some cool things I can do with content in there now. Just having the experience, right? We've got a lot more experience under our belt than we did when we were last in there. Yeah. So I think I could do some cool content from there. So, my plan is to maybe November, maybe get down there a day early and spend all day Friday at J.M. Davis.
Absolutely. November will probably be a good one because I'll be able to leave. I think what I did before is leave around 6 in the morning and get up there right as it opened at 10. And if I got there early, then G-Webs and I would go eat. And I think you would eat this one time. We would go eat breakfast before we were waiting on you. We try to make it to where we got there right around 10 o'clock when it opened, so we could just go in and spend all day. It's only 3.5, 4 hours for me. So I think it's 4 hours to J.M. Davis, 3.5 to Tulsa. But yeah, it's definitely worth it. But yeah, if you guys have nothing to do, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after that, it's Masters weekend, I know. But if you got nothing else to do and you're anywhere within driving distance or manageable distance to Tulsa, come to J.M. Davis. Come to Wanamaker. And make sure you come find us as well, because we're going to be there, and we'll have a lot of friends out there. Clover and I will both be doing some booth appearances at like Gun Cleaners and Black Ran. I know you've got Gun Cleaners, but you probably have a lot of your target companies that you
Outdoor
actually
products. Yeah, outdoor products plus high caliber targets.
High caliber targets. So, go look for a lot of the companies that you see us talk about. Even if we're not there, tell them, hey, I saw your stuff on Clover's video or Ghost video or whatever.
Definitely.
And all of that, and that'll make their day. So, you got anything else you want to talk about or bring up before we get out of here?
I hope not that I'm aware of now.
All right. It's been an awesome 2-hour chat. We thank you guys for watching. In about 5 minutes, go over to Sandhill Shooter and check out the Get Off My Lawn podcast. I think I saw a notification that maybe Budget went live a little while ago. So go check out Budget over at Budget Guns and Gear Reviews.
So real quick, just to jump in here, because you mentioned Sandy. So Sandy, I know Nebraska's Gun Freak shows that you're out there, freak. Sandy said over Sandhill Shooters, what Ghost was talking about, the Get Off My Lawn podcast, said he wanted you to get in touch with him. So,
there you go.
Reach out to him, please, sir.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right. Other for that, like I said, we've got we've got some really cool stuff going. We got the survival series we're still working on. We've got this LPVO series. We've got so many things. Like I said, this is the time of year that it can get overwhelming, because you go through a few month lull of nothing, and then it's like everything happens at once, and it's crazy. Plus working, 60, 70 hours a week on top of it for work is throwing a little hitch into it. We got a big project we got going on at work, and it's crazy. But other than that, also I want to say this is we've been doing some work. We started a couple weeks ago, last week, or whenever it was, we put 2 videos out. We're doing some work for Gun Deals, gun.deals. If you're not familiar with gun.deals, it's a cool website. They do not actually sell firearms, but what they do is they go and search the internet for the best deals currently for different guns. You go to the gun.deals and search whatever gun you're looking for, and they're going to give you a list of the best deals out there. And they put them all in one place for you. So it's kind of like Ammo Seek, but for guns and all that. They do have ammo. They do have optics. They have accessories. They have everything all on that one site that you can search for. So go check them out, and go check out their YouTube pages, Gun Deals, all one word, Gun Deals. And so we've been doing some work. We put a couple of videos out for them. So enjoying that relationship. It's kind of new, but it is interesting. Donkey says, do you have a Freddy's in Arkansas? If not, a side-by-side comparison of Whataburger to definitely needed. I've never even heard of Freddy's, so obviously I don't think we have Freddy's here in Arkansas.
I've been to Freddy's. Whataburger hands down. Whataburger hands down. Yeah.
Now we're both Texans, so we have a special.
Yeah, I mean it may be skewed. It may be skewed. Yeah, it may be skewed with me. Quite honestly, it could be. Whataburger to me is in a lot more locations than Freddy's. I do know around here there are 2 Freddy's. He's talking about like Freddy's. Can't remember the name.
I never heard of them.
It's like Freddy's.
But I've been out of Texas
or something
since 1994, and I came back for a couple of years, late 90s after I got out. But Freddy's probably wasn't around. If they were, I never, because once again, if I want to go to a fast food burger joint, it's Whataburger.
Freddy's.
If I can find one.
Yeah, Freddy's frozen custard and steak burgers.
That kind of sounds pretty good, though.
Yeah, that's what that is. So yeah, there's one about an hour from me. But yeah, I'd rather have Whataburger. But I grew up on Whataburger. So
I'm the same way, exactly. Grew up on Whataburger, so it is what it is.
Water, W-A-T-E-R. Whataburger.
I gotta find my Whataburger patch to bring to Tulsa, I guess, don't I?
Oh, I love mine. Mine's always on my bag when I go somewhere.
Yeah, no, mine's not always on, but I don't have to find it because of 45 Alpha. We're gonna have to definitely do the Whataburger patch for Tulsa's bag. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching live, thank you so much. Thank you all the patrons out there, all my channel members. We love you guys. Thanks for everyone hanging out the last 2 hours live with us. If you're watching in replay or watching or listening in podcast, God bless you. I hope you don't get bored too easily. But I think it was an interesting conversation. Once again, it doesn't have to stop here. Utilize, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and utilize the comment section below. We will get those answered, I promise you. And if you have any questions, email me, call me, text me whenever. I'm not saying that I'm going to answer it right then, but within 24 hours, I typically answer everything. So let me know any questions you have or anything, or tell me that I'm an idiot. I love hearing that I'm an idiot because I get told that every day by my wife. So I'm used to it. But let us know what you think of optics, what you guys are using and all that. If you have any questions, like I said, let us know, either myself or CloverTac. We're both very easy to find, and we'll have no problem answering whatever questions you have. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. We will talk to you soon. Semper Fi.